Hey there, Titans. In this video, we'll talk about drawers in Titan Web. Alright, so first things first, let's see how we can add one. I'm just gonna head over to my elements drawer and I'll search for drawer, and I could drag it in and I can add as many as I like. So right now I have two, and the way for me to see it is if I'll look at layer list, and I could see I got two drawers, and I could look at the settings of each, and obviously if you want to rename it, give it a title, so on and so forth, and you can have as many drawers as you like. In this instance we'll work with one, and let's see the options we have for a drawer. So first thing, we can set it the title. We will say test drawer, and we could determine the position of the drawer, where we want it to be, and what the layout of the drawer going to be like. We can decide if we want to have one column, two columns, or three columns, and we could decide the width of each column, and whenever we drop elements it will have three different distinguishable positions, and we could set whenever, like let's say if we deal with the styling, we can style each column by itself, and you'll have a distinct cut between one column to another. In this instance, we'll stick with one column. Alright, so if I'll preview this now, you will see I cannot see my drawer. And the way for us to control the drawer, to show or hide it, is through the action flow. So we can run this from a condition, we can run it from a button click, anything that we like. In this instance, we're just going to put in a simple button, and let's take a look at what we can do with the drawer interactivity. So I'm just going to search for drawer, and I'll select drawer model, and I'll say enable, and I'll select my drawer. If I had multiple ones, I'll select the one that I want to run the action on. So we could do show, hide. Toggle is basically show or hide depending on when we're clicking. If it's shown, it will hide it. If it's hidden, it will show it. And we can also reset state, and we'll try to review that at the end of this video. Okay, so I'll select toggle, and let's run this real quick, and I'll click it, it's shown, and then I'll click again and I can close it. Now notice this, whenever I open the drawer, it gave me like a grayed out area, and we'll cover this in just a second. And also we could have the drawer pinned. So whenever it's pinned, it will not let me close it unless I click this button, and when it's not pinned and I have the light box enabled, which is what we're seeing right now, anywhere I click it will close it. So if I now open it, I click toggle, I click anywhere else, it will close it. So let's take a look at the options I have in interactivity. So the light box we've just seen, let's disable it and we'll see what this does. So I open it, I can still work on my screen, nothing is blocking me from doing so since the light box is not enabled. And if I'll click the toggle again, now the button is clickable. I can open and close it as I wish, and I can continue working on my portal alongside the drawer. If I don't want the users to be able to run any other actions aside from interacting with whatever is in the drawer, then I will enable the light box. Alright, let's take a look at the rest of the options here. Obviously, hide on load is whenever we load the project, if we want it shown or not. By default, it will not show unless we have it as persistent, which is kind of cool. So what persistent will do is we'll give you the drawer as if it's another strip in another column on your project. And notice that I have this grayed out area, which means if I'll put this here, this is outside of the size of my project. I have the 1100 pixels cutoff, and whatever I put in here, it's longer than it's wider than the current width of my project. And if I'll go back here and I'll say interactivity cut strip content, and I'll refresh this, I'll not see my button since it's out of boundary. And obviously if I'll move this back and refresh, I'll see my button. So this is really cool. Okay, so that's great. And now let's take a look at the pin. So we could allow pin or not. We can allow the user to pin we've seen this in the beginning of the video with the light box that we have it pinned, so that will stay there and will allow the users to interact with only the drawer until they physically close it or unpin it. So you can decide if you want to allow them to pin or not, and you can obviously select pin icon. Same goes for close icon, which you could change to whatever you want. So let's say we want to do this, and now I've just changed the icon to have an X on it. Let's review this real quick, and we'll refresh and toggle my drawer, and I have my close icon. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the reset state. So let's say I'll put a text in here and a text field in here, and what I will do is just imagine we'll do something with this text field and we'll push it to Salesforce, so on and so forth. So whenever I toggle it now and I reopen it, I can see that the text is still pre-populated. Let's say every time we close this, we want to reset whatever that's in here. So let's say if we were collecting some information and then we would click a button over here, let's say we'll have a button here. And whenever I would click this button, I would want to push the Salesforce, let's say create a new account or contact, whatever that is, and I want to close the drawer and I want to reset whatever that's in here. So let's take a look at that and let's just go and give it a little gap real quick. So head over to the column and let's say row gap will be 15, and let's go to the button, and what we will say here on the on click of the button, what I want to do is drawer. Let's say I want to hide it, and before I hide it, I can do it after too. So I'll hide and then I'll say reset state. So that should clear my text field. Just imagine that I'm pushing some data to Salesforce, and I will toggle it again and I can see my text field is empty. So whenever I complete an action here, I can run a reset state, and that will basically get rid of everything that was in here. And it's safe to assume that you can put a form in here, you can put any element you can think of directly onto the drawer. And when it comes to styling, you can control every single aspect of the drawer with the drawer itself, the toolbar, the title, the icon colors, and more, the content and column. And like we've seen in the beginning, we can, if we have more than one column, we can have specific styling for each column. And this is how it's done.